I love the concept of us being coaches. And us getting people to that safe place.
Yeah, and train people to be coaches. You know, we teach people how to sell, but we don't teach people how to coach.
Wow.
And they're both skills. They're both learnable, practicable skills.
And I love the art of listening. I think that is just going to transport you to another level in production and referrals and all of that.
You know, there's a great irony. You know, the companies that I know that teach listening to their people so that they will be better leaders, better salespeople, whatever it is, the profound impact it has on someone's life. They report back that, thank you for teaching me that listening skill so that I could be a better salesperson. My marriage is better. My relationship with my kids is better. My relationship with my parents is better. Because the art of listening is applicable everywhere where you interact with another human being, not just at work, even though the company taught you that skill for work.
And my biggest fear, because we don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but my biggest fear is screens are taking that away.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I can prove it to you. And by the way, I've had this happen with agents. Can I borrow someone's phone? Can I just borrow a phone? Yeah, thanks.
Oh my God, it's going to get to you, Simon Sinek. My phone. I should have got a selfie.
I know, it's okay. Here, I'll get one. There you go. Okay, I just want to show you something. I'm just going to show you a little, I'm just going to show you something, right? So, I'm just holding my phone while I'm talking to you guys. It's not buzzing, it's not beeping. I'm not checking it, I'm just holding it. Let me just ask you a question. Do you feel like you're the most important thing to me right now? Exactly. There's a deep-seated psychological reaction when you were walking around a house with a client holding your phone, even if you're not checking it. And I have absolutely had it where I've been walking around with an agent and they're talking to me, and then I look to the left and I turn around and they're like this. Guess how that made me feel? That I am not the most important thing to that person in this moment.
Wow.
Right? And this is artificial. I'm just doing it right now in front of a room, and I'm not even looking down, and you don't feel that special, right? So the point is put your phone away for the 10 minutes you're walking around a house. And you go ahead. I mean, the art of making someone feel seen and heard is stupidly simple, right? Learning their name really quickly is really easy. And calling them by their name is really easy. Asking them questions not about what they're looking for in a house, but asking questions about who they are, like where they see themselves in 5 years, professionally. Like, are you married? Are you single? What do you learn about them as if as people. Mm-hmm. And all of that learning makes you show people different things. It makes you creative. I know this wasn't the kind of house you were looking for, but based on what we talked about before, I think you'll really like this. And now you're not looking to sell them a house, you're looking to sell them a home. And I know a lot of you use those terminology. I'm not here to help you find a house, I'm here to find a home. And yet you still left a bottle of champagne in the fridge, in their new house. You didn't help them make a home with a yoga mat. Really, really easy. Put your devices away, because not only does it distract us, but as an act of service, you're doing it for someone else. Now, if you have an emergency, you simply apologize. My mother's in the hospital, I have to keep my phone out, I'm terribly sorry, I will try my best, not totally fine. But you don't get to use that card very often. That is the exception, not the rule, yeah.
And it's so
and a transaction that you're waiting for does not count. It'll have to wait 15 minutes.
And Kuba tells us that all the time, just create that amazing experience.
Right.
And that's what you're doing, because that makes you memorable. That's going to set you apart from your competitors. That one act of intention.
So when they were building Disneyland, the Imagineers took Walt Disney on a tour to show him what they had built. They showed him one of the rides, I can't remember which one. And they built an animatronic bird, perfect in every detail. And they showed it to Walt. so excited for him to show him this perfect animatronic bird that no guest would ever be able to tell the difference between this and a real bird. And Walt looks at it and goes, no, it's not going to work. And they're like, Walt, it's perfect in every detail. It's the feathers, it's the color, it's the movement, it's perfect in every detail. And Walt said, the bird's not breathing. And they said, no one will notice. And he said, people can feel perfection.
Ooh.
And that's the point, which is they may not be able to say the thing that you did or did not do, but they can feel it.
Wow. That's great. That's powerful. So one thing that I'm extremely proud of, and I'm not sure everyone in here is aware of it, but we are aware of our core values, which I shared with you, and our manifesto, which I shared, and our 6 C's, which is what everything we do, we're driven by that. We bounce up against that. But we've introduced Be Golden, Be You, and I was so excited to introduce this to you because it speaks so much to who you are. And the golden is grow, and it's not grow that I'm going to beat you by growing.
Right.
It's that internal growth. It's own, so have extreme ownership in what you do. It's love. The L is love. And Kuba is very driven by come from your heart, be genuine, which is what you're saying. You knew the realtor was faking it, right? So come from your heart. Everything should be driven by love. Be determined, which, be intentional, be determined with everything you do. Practice equality. So treat everyone better than you want to be treated. And I think the diversity of our network, and I'm not going to say family, because family can be so dysfunctional, right? But our team, of our if your family's not dysfunctional, you may not know them all. But practice that. Maybe that was too personal. But that equality of loving one another, and then to do it now, to make sure that we don't know how much time we have. We don't know, but just be intentional. So I'm really proud of that. I'm proud to talk to you about that. I'm proud for that behavior to be who we become, who we grow into as an organization.
Yes, I like things that are verbs. I like things that are behaviors. More than just sort of, I believe that values should be written as verbs. You go to so many companies and they have the values written on the wall, integrity,
With the eagle.
Innovation.
Right, with the big eagle.
Yeah. Innovation, honesty, If you have to write honesty on the wall, you've got bigger problems. But but innovation is not a value. You can't walk into somebody's office and say, a little more innovation today, please. What are they supposed to do, right? But if you want to put integrity, you write do the right thing. If you want to do honesty, you say tell the truth. If you want to say innovation, say look at the problem from a different angle. They make them behaviors that people can do. So I like behaviors. I like that you did that. The concept of treating people the way you want to be treated, I'm not sure I agree with that one.
Okay. How about better than you want to be treated?
I think treat people the way they want to be treated.
Ooh, okay.
Because
You win.
And by the way, that goes both ways, right? Some people want a lot of attention. Give them a lot of attention. Some people want very little attention. Don't bug them, right? And so treating people as a dial, and you can tell the ones that have a formula because they're not listening. When somebody's giving me a pitch and I'm looking the other direction and I'm glazing over and they're still talking, it's because they have to get through the script and they're completely ignoring the room. They're completely ignoring the fact that I am just not interested. And so in an instant, people can feel perfection. In an instant, I've come to the conclusion in the span of 30 seconds that this person has no interest in me. They have an interest in getting through their script, which means they're interested in getting through their transaction. And I've already formed an entire judgment, an entire opinion of what this relationship's going to be like. And if you treat me as a transaction, I treat you as a transaction, which means I've got 18 agents working for me, not just you, because that's how you treated me, that's how I'm treating you. I'll play by your rules. If you treat me with love and make me feel I don't want to work with anybody else, right? So if you're just trying to get the most money out of me, then I'm going to try and get the least money out of somebody else. So, and again, people will play by the rules that you set.
I'm guessing that eye thing didn't work out well. Is
What
that
eye
what
thing?
the thing in your eye that she didn't help you? I'm guessing that didn't work out well.
When I talked to her afterwards, I sort of didn't finish the story. I went up to her, I was like, you know, you can show me a little sympathy. And, you know, she said, well, that's not going to help you get anything out of your eye. I mean, and that's sort of how she thinks about everything. And she, God bless her, she had to learn that relationships are not based on facts and figures. And that is true in business as it is in a relationship, which is the facts don't always matter. It's how I felt. Did I feel supported in that moment?
And how so you do want to be treated.
And how I do want to. Don't treat me the way you want to, because she doesn't want, because
Right.
she treat me the way I want to be treated. I'm sensitive. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. So questions. Are we okay to do some questions?
Yeah, sure.
Anybody got questions? I think we've got microphones.
Hi, Simon.
Hi.
What an honor it is, by the way. My name's Mandy, to even be in the same room as you on stage.
Oh,
and
thank you.
you, Kuba.
Thank you.
And Kathy. My question is, you speak a lot to us. You write tons of books. I'm an association leader as well as someone who serves 370 agents directly on a daily basis. And it's really easy to take it in and like hear it while you're saying it.
Sure.
But how would you suggest people actually go home and reflect on the points you've made today to better themselves?
Great question. So, you know, pick one thing and go do it. You know, it's kind of like anything, which is, you know, when you learn to drive a car, fly a plane, you know, sell a house, whatever it is, it's overwhelming. There's so much information. And you can't be expected to learn it all and practice it all tomorrow. It's a journey, it's a process. And so, you know, do these things out loud, do these things live, and practice them. And I'll go back to one of the things that I said before, with someone. You know, if anybody's ever gotten their scuba certification, they teach you don't go diving by yourself, you have to have a dive buddy, right? Because it's safer, right? You don't do it by yourself. It's actually stupid. And I think that's what this journey is. You should have a leadership buddy, because it's too hard to do by yourself and it's too overwhelming. And leadership is very often a very lonely position. Because as you make your way up the ranks, you gain some success, it's harder and harder to know who you can be completely vulnerable with. You can't come to work and be like, yeah, it's not going to work. I don't know, I can't, no. You know, it's like, you can talk about being stressed. You can talk about that it's a hard time. You can talk about being uncertain. But you can't just break down, but you have to break down. You have to break down to someone. And so you got to have a leadership buddy, because a leadership buddy will be there to hold you in your darkest moments and give you a space to let it all out. But at the same time, they're there when you need to make difficult decisions, saying, you got this, I believe in you. And that'll give you the courage to do it. So who's your leadership buddy?
I actually have one.
Well, that's amazing.
So thank you, Simon.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
Hi, Simon.
Hi.
Denise Pollock, San Diego. Earlier, Ben was speaking about bucket lists, and you know, let's say you put 100 items on there. Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it? You know, to prioritize. You know, like one we were talking over here. One of my bucket list long-term items is to buy a huge star-worthy RV and drive across the country, which I know is not attainable in this moment, but. How do we start with 100 things, to the varied life?
I'm going to get in trouble now, right? Because I don't believe in bucket lists. Because I believe in reverse bucket lists.
Oh, I'm going to like this. Keep going.
What a bucket list does is a long list of things that we haven't done. And it reminds us of all the things we're missing. And it neglects gratitude. And I would rather we look at all the things we have done and be grateful for the fact that we've lived rich lives up until this moment. And so are there dreams that I have? Of course. Are there things I want to do? Of course. Do I know what some of them are in my head? Of course. Do I hope to check them off that list? Of course. But what's more fun to do is go through the list of things I have done and the things that I never thought I would be able to do, that I was able to do. And it's a nicer feeling than the things I'm missing out on.
And for you, can I add in just like I know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Okay.
I made a whole career out of it.
Okay. See, I wish you would just pause and maybe look back at the lives you've changed through the work you're doing, because you're changing lives every day. I mean, you're creating amazing memories for families, and all of you need to do that. You're making a big difference.
And I'll add to that. I'll
Okay.
see your raise, and I'll
Okay.
raise you. And be specific. Like, it's not enough to say, you help so many families, just think about all the families you help. Like, tell me what their name is. Like, actually think of the actual family, right? The more you can connect it to a real human being, the more you will feel it. And I'll prove it to you. Stalin said, the death of one man is a tragedy and the death of a million is a statistic, right? So I'll tell you two stories, both are true. Right now, what we are witnessing in Europe is a horrible event of this war in Ukraine. And we see a proud people standing up to defend themselves against this oppressive regime that is invading their country unnecessarily. And the conservative estimates now are, I think the last one I read was about, 5,000 men and women killed, rising up against this despotic regime, right? That's a fact. Those are numbers. Now let me tell you another story. I have a friend named Cami who lives in San Clemente, California, and she was driving home from work one day, and as she turned the corner, she came upon a car accident that had just happened, where a 17-year-old driver had hit an 18-year-old pedestrian. And this 18-year-old girl was lying on the street, her leg at a 90-degree angle, unconscious, and the ambulances hadn't arrived yet. Cami pulled her car over and got out and sat with the girl, and just sat with her until the paramedics arrived. Eventually the paramedics arrived and took her away. And a few days later, she was curious what happened to that girl. She went online onto the blotter and found out that 18-year-old girl had died. Okay, what made you feel more? Thousands of people who died standing up against an oppressive regime to defend their lifestyle and their democracy? Or one 18-year-old girl who got hit by a car in California? That's my point, which is when you tell a story about a specific person, you feel it way more than telling statistics of all the people you helped or all the homes you've sold. I don't care about how many homes you've sold or how many families you've helped. Tell me about the one you remember. That's the one you tell. And when somebody says, what can you do for me? I've lived in this neighborhood for 30 years, and I have a greater knowledge of this neighborhood than anybody else, and I've sold more houses, and I'll get you the best deal. And then you get a cynical bastard like me who goes, your business model encourages you not to get me the best deal. I mean, that's the way I think. I apologize, because you want to keep the price up because that's what makes you more money. Like, I know, like, I get it, right? It's like therapists don't want to get you better because they get paid by the hour. If they did flat fee, we'd all be fine. But if you walk in and say, if somebody says, why should I do business with you, right? You'd be like, 3 years ago I met this family, the Joneses. Oh, what a wonderful couple. 2 kids, Lucy and George, and just the best. And you tell a story about what you got to know about them and what they were looking for and how you spent the time with them. And people will relate their experience to the Joneses, not to the 55 houses you've sold or the 30 years you've been in business, because I don't care. I just need one. And so the more you can tell a specific story, the more people can feel it, to yourself and to others.
That is powerful. That is very powerful.
And now you can go back and people say, what'd you learn at the conference? You'd be like, well, Stalin said. Yeah.
Can I tell you one more thing and brag a little bit?
You're not related to Stalin, are you?
No.
Okay.
No. One thing that we've done as an organization, I'm extremely proud of this. Kuba and Luba have been very touched by the Ukraine situation. And a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month and a half ago, Kuba, they decided, I think with the girls, I'm making this up, so forgive me. They decided, it may be true, they decided with their girls that they wanted to do something to make a difference for the kids in Ukraine. And this tiny little idea for us to go out and fill shoe boxes with toys and things for the children resulted 6 weeks later in over 31,000 shoeboxes that have been shipped to Poland.
Wow, that's
to make
fantastic.
a difference. What I wish is that we knew those kids that received it to be able to model what you're saying, but very proud of this group, just very, very much how committed
That's beautiful.
we are. Isn't that wonderful?
That's magical, yeah.
See, and that's the kind of story you don't hear about realtors.
You don't.
And can I make it better? Over here, Janet, let me just, and all of you don't know this. And God love them, they're from Kansas. But, I know. But let me tell you this story because a lot of you may not know this story. Janet's office, her office, one of her competitors, her rivalries there is Keller Williams. And I might be making this up too, so forgive me. I might be embellishing a bit. But the market center there called and said, can we contribute to the shoebox drive? And so 125 shoeboxes they contributed from the market center. One of their agents was Ukrainian, and she handwrote prayers.
Oh, beautiful.
To go in the shoeboxes.
Beautiful.
And I don't want to start crying. You don't hear that. You don't hear that that's how our industry works.
Yeah.
You just hear the commission breath,
Yeah.
right? So, guys, go out there and make a difference. You've got a lot of power.
That's great.
Next question. I think we got time for maybe one or two more. Scott?
Thank you, Kuba. My name is Todd Fallman from the Seattle area. Thank you, Kuba. Thank you, Kathy. And special thanks, Simon, for spending some time with us. In terms of pursuit of infinite growth and value, how would you define the difference between passion and purpose, and how would that help lead us in that experience?
Passion is an output. Purpose is an input. We always talk about, I'm passionate for this. Everybody's passionate for something. Passion's an output. It's like I love talking to people like, we only hire passionate people. Well, how do you know that they're passionate for interviewing, not so passionate for working, right? So I always think that passion is an output, which is when you are doing something that you believe in, when you're doing something that feels like it's bigger than yourself, that you feel like you're contributing to a larger purpose, what you feel is passion. Like working hard for something that we love is called passion. Working hard for something we don't love is called stress. It's an output. It's not an input. Purpose is like a battery, right? It provides energy. And so, in fact, I was just talking backstage about this before I came out, which is when I set out to spread my message, there was some personal sacrifice that I had to make. I was traveling a lot, which means there was a lot of physical exertion and exhaustion. It took a huge hit to my personal life. I'd go on a first date and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Are you free in 6 weeks for a second date, Because I met this girl in Vegas at this conference. It was amazing. That was a shout out. But the point is because I had a sense of purpose, though I did not enjoy it, it was worth it. So I think purpose makes us feel like the sacrifices we're making are worth it, and you will know it because what you feel is passion. It's an input and an output. I guess better put, you need purpose to feel passion. That would be a nicer way of saying it.
That is one of those things that's kind of hard to get your head around, though, right? Well, not you, but
I'm just.
all the rest of them.
I don't think you need passion to feel purpose, because what you're saying is then you have to have energy before you can have belonging, and I don't believe that. But you need purpose to feel passion. You need to feel like your work contributes to something bigger than simply buying and selling houses. You need to feel like you're contributing to something bigger than yourself. And when you feel like the days you don't feel like working and you meet that one person that all of a sudden, it's like having kids. Like, rationally speaking, I don't know why anyone would want to have a child, right? You don't get to go on vacation when you want to go on vacation. You can only go on vacation when they have no school. Dinner was macaroni and cheese from a plastic spoon over the sink. Like, sleeping is something you abandon for a couple of years. You give up your life. Your marriage is very, very different than it was. and your entire life is consumed by children for many, many, many years. And it's frustrating and hard and stressful. But that one time you catch your 5-year-old sharing with your 4-year-old unexpectedly, or when you go to make sure your 8-year-old is sleeping and you catch her underneath the blankets with a flashlight reading, you know, or the first school play or the first boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, when they get into all of that, sacrifice is instantly worth it. And so I think when we weigh the rational side of it, we'd never do anything that required hard work or sacrifice. But when we're contributing to the life of someone else and we get to see that life thrive and grow, all of a sudden sacrifice becomes worth it. And that's what I think purpose is. It's the knowledge that our contributions will live on outside of us forever. Like, it's not that you just did something nice for someone, it's that they will carry that feeling and make them a better person, you know, in their own lives. In other words, you live forever through the lives of others.
Yeah. And with children, it's grandchildren.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you have to have the children to get the grandchildren.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then when you have grandchildren, then you get to have revenge.
that's it.
Hi, Simon. My name is John Myers. I'm from Wilmington, North Carolina. I'm glad you're here because when I first met Kathy, one of the books that I talked about that helped define who I was Start With Why. And today you talk about listening and how important that is and understanding someone's story. If you had to choose one question that you could ask someone to help figure out their story, what would it be?
So the question that I ask is, I ask people where they're from. I mean, I ask people about their childhood. I mean, I want to know where people are from, and I don't mean where they were born, you know? I'm like, tell me about who you are, where you come from. And because people can, you know, the future is figments of our imagination. Asking people about what they do now, they'll tell you what they want you to hear. But when you ask somebody where they come from and tell me a happy story, tell me a happy memory from when you were a kid, they can only remember the things that matter. You know, we've forgotten most of the things that we did when we were kids, but we remember the things that mattered. And so those things tend to be incredibly objective. So when I'm really trying to get to know somebody, I want to go backwards, not forwards. And I don't want to talk about the present.
It's powerful. Do that eyebrow thing again. That was.
I don't know what I did.
Your eyebrow almost parted your hair on that side.
Oh, really?
You looked at me and your eyebrow went up. That was nice.
These days, my eyebrow has to go higher and higher and higher.
This has been such an honor. It's such an honor to introduce you to this magnificent group of people, and I'm so thrilled that you poured into them what you did. There's so many nuggets that they can go back and apply today to the business they're doing. So we appreciate you. I'm going to say be golden, be you, because that's who we are, guys. Simon Sinek.
Thank you very much.